Hello, everyone. Rachel Jensen here, broker owner of Luna Realty Belize, and welcome to our In the Inbox series. This is where we answer questions that have been asked by folks like you about the real estate industry here. So we are in question number 95 today. It was asked by Tiffany, and she asked, what are some costs that I may not have thought about when buying land? Great question. So if you're somebody who's looking at buying land here and perhaps you're thinking about it from the investment perspective, buy now, sell it later after there's appreciation, or perhaps you're looking at a piece of property where you can build your dream home or maybe an Airbnb or figure it out down the line. These are some considerations that you'll want to bear in mind as you are looking at the property. They are some unexpected costs that maybe people haven't thought about. I have three top ones in here and then one bonus for you. So let's jump right in. The first one is the filling of land. So in Belize, specifically on Ambergris Caye, it's not uncommon for parcels of land to be somewhat submerged by water. It may be an entire parcel. It may be just a part of the parcel that's low lying. And so it's not uncommon to get your property filled. Now, when you're here on the island, you'll probably see signs that say landfill, white mall. That's not landfill like trash. I know sometimes that's what we think about if we're from North America, but this is fill that they use to elevate your land. So right now it costs about $350, $375 US a truckload. And depending on how much fill your property needs will obviously depend on that cost. We had a client who a few years ago purchased a parcel that was 100 feet by 550 feet. At that time, it was pretty covered by trees. It was quite jungly. He did walk through some of it. He came during dry season, but then when he was recently here, as he's planning his development, what he did is he was able to walk through it after there was some clearing and also during rainy season. And he saw there was a pocket of the land that was fairly low lying. And now he's going to need some fill in order to get the land elevated a bit. So this is not really a surprise for a lot of properties in here in Belize, but I do recommend that you ask your realtor or your agent what it's like during rainy season, especially if you're coming during dry season, just to have that expectation of what your property will look like after rain. Again, not uncommon, but just something that you need to be budgeting for. The second, we're not on the third yet. The second one here is bringing out utilities. So a lot of times folks from North America expect that it's going to be up to the utility company to pay for the extension of the lines to their property. That's not the case. If you want here, if in here in Belize, if you want to use the services of the public electricity, of the public water, then typically you are the one who is paying for that extension to come out to your property. So it just depends where your property is located in relation to where the line stops. Like electricity, for example, electricity is in many parts of the island along the east coast, but it stops up around Tranquility Bay. It does go all the way to the south. It does not go over to the Secret Beach area. So if you are someone you're like, you know what, I'm buying in Secret Beach, I don't really want to live off grid, I'll get the public electricity. Well, it's going to be up to you to bring that line all the way out to your property. And that is likely going to cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars if you want to bring it to Secret Beach specifically. But just depends where you are. In many cases, you're just running the line, 100 feet or so, and you don't expect those large numbers, of course, a few $1,000s, but of course, something to bear in mind. Now, if you're buying property that is already going to be connected, then you'll just have that transfer fee of moving it from the previous owner to you as the current owner. And then also something else to bear in mind is, are there utilities in that area? So we made that mention about Secret Beach where it's totally off grid, and in Ambergris Caye, I did a whole video on this and I can put it in the link below, description below, about the utilities and where they are in Ambergris Caye. But if you are in an area that does not have public water, then you'll need to factor in some sort of water system, whether it's a rainwater catchment cistern, reverse osmosis, a well, whatever that may be. So that's something else that you'll have to bear in mind. But like I mentioned, I'll put that link in the description below so you can see where the services currently are on Ambergris Caye. In addition to that, on Ambergris, we do have fiber optics. It doesn't go to every single development though. So and every single lot here. So if that is important to you, then you'll want to see where the current Diginet links up to, the fiber optics links up to, and then you'll have to extend the line out if that's something that's important to you. The third thing is fixing of roads. So again, this is not something that the government is necessarily going to be fixing all of the time. If you are affected by the road to your property not being accessible, many times it's going to be up to the person who's affected to fix roads. We're in a developing country here. You know, it's not all paved all over the place. In fact, many of the roads continue to be dirt or graded, but not necessarily concrete or paved. So that's why a lot of people do tend to come during rainy season so they can see what the accessibility looks like. But if you have a property at the end of a road and that road is very potholy, it looks very muddy, then you can likely assume that during rainy season, it's going to be a trek. It's going to be a little difficult to pass through, but monitor it. You know, likely if there are other homes that are on that road, they'll be willing to contribute to getting that road updated and making sure it's passable for those who are affected. So again, very important things for you to consider. Now, the last one I want to mention is a bonus, and this is really the reassessment of land value. This is going to affect more so people who are financing their land. So if you are financing your property through seller financing, what that typically means is the title is not going to be transferred until you have paid off your land in full. You paid off your property in full. Once the property is paid off in full, then the seller is going to transfer the title to you as the buyer. Let's say it's a 5-year term. And this is, so you have your agreement. On your agreement, let's say you're buying land for $200,000. Now, 5 years later, you are applying for your title. They see the value of what you purchased it for, but that was 5 years ago. Now, it's not unlikely that they're going to be reassessing your land. I say they, meaning the valuation department at the lands department. So this is not something that's uncommon, or something else that we've heard happen is that people purchase land, they're financing it, they build a home on it, and now all of a sudden the land has more value than it did when it was unimproved. So these are things that you do have to bear in mind. You do have to consider. I did see some hullabaloo online on some of the Facebook groups about people who were taking advantage of seller financing, and then they went to apply for their title and they are getting charged more. This is something that you and your realtor should absolutely be discussing. It should also be in your purchase agreement, that you understand that the valuation of the stamp tax is dependent on the valuation from the lands department. In many cases, I'd say in 99.9% of the cases, what is in the paperwork is what the lands department is going to charge you. And that's typically what you should expect. But the closing company will also disclose to you that there could be a reassessment depending on at what time you're going to be applying for the title. Something else, and this law, I would say this reassessment was really as a way to prevent like friends and family and people doing really lowball contracts and offers, right? Let's say I wanted to sell my sister a parcel of land, really gift it to her, but there has to be a transactional sale. So I was selling it to her for $1, but the value of it is $100,000. Well, the lands department is going to see through that. They'll value it with what they believe it to be. And then that's what the 8% stamp tax is going to be on. If you're not sure what I'm talking about here, please do reach out. We have a closing guide that goes through all of this information when you're buying real estate here in Belize, and the sort of expectations that you should have when you are going through the closing process. But this is something important. I know Gary, he was on one of the Facebook groups, Gary and Rachel, some of our good friends, and they mentioned this is happening to them in the Secret Beach area. So we do want to make sure that it is known, and I wouldn't say to be expected, because it doesn't happen all the time, but it is something that could happen. So the quick overview, quick highlights of some unexpected costs: the filling of land if you're in a low-lying area, bringing out utilities or the transfer of utilities if they're already there, fixing up the road to make sure it's accessible to your property, and then the bonus there is the reassessment of land value that happens by the valuation department at the lands department. As I mentioned, if you are interested in learning more about that closing process, reach out to us, info@lunarealtybelize.com, info@lunarealtybelize.com. Our team also has an incredible amount of complimentary resources, e-guides that we can email over to you. And it covers everything from the lifestyle here to just Belize real estate generally, to little tidbits and things that you should know. But we are happy to get that over to you. info@lunarealtybelize.com is the best email address to reach me and our team. And if you're coming down here to Belize, let us know. We'd love to show you around and help you find that dream property of yours. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.